It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show, coming to you each and every day. Our social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, are all at the Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel, Open Mic Broadcast Network. Our website is obnradio.com. We have two phone numbers that you must lock in, that you can always be a part of the programming or just catch up on some of the latest programming. 24-hour dial-in message line, 713-570-6736, and our 24-hour on-demand message center, 720-721-1558. And without any further delay, we're going to jump right into today's episode. As we promised on yesterday's episode, we were going to dig a little bit deeper into the APR situation that has been released by the NCAA. And for the record, we probably are going to go through the entire conference. But of course, the old saying says charity began at home. So with that being said, we will break down the APR rankings for Prairie View Athletics. And before we harp on what is a concerning report, we're going to recognize and acknowledge those sports that did well as the report cards, if you would, come out for the academic progress for Prairie View athletic departments. Now, once again, these numbers are going to always be a year lagging. So we'll kind of explain that and break that down as we go through, as we continue to go through today's episode. But we'll first recognize for the 2018-19 season ranking according to the APR rate. According to the APR, baseball came in with a 975. And I might add, the measuring stick is 950 to be considered acceptable according to the formula of the APR ranking. Men's cross country, 964. Men's tennis, 1,000 out of a possible 1,000. Men's track, 966. Softball, 990. Bowling, 992. Women's cross country, 985. Soccer, 958. Women's golf, 978. Women's track, 991. Women's tennis, 960. Volleyball, 971. So congratulations to all of the other sports who came above the mark of the 950 approval rating for the APR ranking.
The voice of student athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Now, of course, we had a couple of programs that didn't make the 950 threshold. And of course, that's where all the buzz and focus and concentration has been. We're going to try to break those numbers down and give a better understanding, because from listening to some of the questions, inquiries, some people think that because of this particular challenge in the athletic department right now, that there's no football season, contrary to popular belief. If the season starts, we would have football. But I'm going to try to break down these numbers where they make sense. And I know a lot of people get bombarded, confused, don't like numbers. They think numbers are boring, this, that, and the other. And they can be. And I'm going to try to keep it as quick, precise, to the point where it makes all the sense in the world to you. So with that being said, we know what football is, and we'll focus on football in just a little bit. We have golf that had 928 ranking for the 2018-19 season, which will, like I say, make sense hopefully sooner rather than later. But as long as it to some point it does make sense. Now, another point of reference and understanding. This APR meter, if we would, has gradually escalated. At one point it was at 910. Then it went to 920. Recent, as a year or two ago, was at 930. Now it's at 950. So when we understand that, and there's a 4-year window you have to go backward to move forward, and each year you move forward after that, you knock off a year. And it's going to always be a 4-year cycle average, where we are right now, and then what that average is collectively. So hopefully this is making sense to you. So the measuring stick for us today will be 15-16. 2015, 2016 APR ranking, and then we'll move upward. That's going to be that 4-year window that we're speaking of right now. So, as we were talking, golf was at 928. In 2015, 16 APR ranking, golf was at 946. The 16-17 ranking, golf was at 946 again. 17-18 ranking, golf took a dip to 938. And then this latest one comes to 928, which represents the 18-19 APR ranking. So looking at the trend, golf is trending downward because the APR ranking continues to go up. But if you notice, the APR ranking has gradually dipped. 946, 946, 938, 928. So the way this APR system is set up, it's almost like a warning before destruction. We saw the reports or the letter that was administered out through the internet about the APR plan of action. This hopefully will help curb golf from a continual downward swing. So that's important to note and understand. And it should also be mentioned there are no levels or strikes against golf. There are 3 levels, level 1, 2, and 3. So right now, golf is in a, let's call it, purgatory state. The next sport that would be in a purgatory state would be men's basketball. Their report for the 18-19 APR ranking came in at 923. Now, remember going back to the 15-16 threshold. Basketball was at 921 for 15-16. 16-17, 930. 17-18, 926. 18-19, 923. So you can see that trend up and down when it comes. Now, understand it was at 910, 920, 930. Now it's at 950. So the 926 was when the acceptable year was 930. You were tickling the threshold. Now that it went up and there's a decrease, so the warning, if you would be administered toward basketball. Once again, the APR plan of action to suit in to hopefully curb any potential downsliding for men's basketball. Okay, moving right along. The next two are going to get a little bit more complex, and I'll explain to that in just a moment. Women's basketball. Women's basketball came in for the 2018-19 ranking with a 919. Okay? So with that 919 ranking for the 2018-19 campaign, it put the program at a level 1. The 4-year threshold that you would have. If we went 15-16, that goes back to Coach Don Brown. Now, Coach Don Brown had the team at a 938 at that time, that window when it was at that 910 threshold, 910, 920 threshold. 16-17 was at Raven Justice, but it was still some of Don Brown players. That then put the number at 941. 17-18 under Coach Raven Justice, the APR ranking was 932. So now you get a commingling of student athletes. You have some of Brown's players, some of Justin's players, and it goes to a 932. 18-19. Sandy Pugh is in the threshold as if she was in 17-18, but the residue of players would be that under the Raven Justice regime. That number is where we have the 919. As a result, the penalty enforced would be limited practices. And of course, they are now on a level 1. Now, I know it sounds very confusing, and it's even confusing to people who do this every day, and let alone to try and administer it and lead it. Once again, which leads to the importance of sound, solid leadership to help navigate through this ever moving and changing target. So to recap the basketball part yet again, the Don Brown era, 15-16, she still had players that were somewhat connected to the Prairie View system for 16-17 and a little bit of 17-18. Raven Justice players kick in, 17-18 blend with Don Brown's, and the 18-19 year that Pugh comes in to the fold, she still has the residue of Raven Justice players. She now starts to infuse some of her players with this 18-19 mix, and now the 19-20 mix, which is coming off of that 18-19 score. So if there's going to be an aha moment, if we're going to start looking at an uptick, if you would, has to be on the next season that Coach Pugh has, because theoretically, her players start to kick in, if that's making sense. Now we'll move forward the one that everyone has their eye on, and of course, that's football. Football, of course, was the hardest hit, came in with a 910, 18-19 ranking. That's under Coach Dooley. The penalty, or should I say the penalties, are limited practice, and there is a postseason ban, football would not be eligible for any postseason play. Now, remember the complications of the 4-year system due to APR. Technically speaking, this would be the third year of Coach Dooley being the head coach. And from the understanding that we have about the breakdown of the APR system and the formula, and remember, our go-to year was the 15-16 mark. 15-16, the ranking for football was at a 944. Once again, that's in that window between 910 and 920, so everything was okay. 16-17, let me go back. That year was under Willie Simmons players. The year under the blend of Willie Simmons, Eric Dooley players, 16-17, the ranking is at 939. 17-18, still some residue of the Willie Simmons players, and then more of a 50-50, if you would, of the Eric Dooley players. For 17-18, it goes to 932. 18-19, you would still have some of the Simmons residue, but more of an influence of the Dooley residue. As a result, we're at 910. And when you average that 4-year period out, you get an average of 931. So, with that being said, at 931, if you were to get a 1,000, which, once again, congratulations to men's tennis, that would bring your average up to 945, which would still be in the danger zone. So it is a very, very complicated, perplexed situation. And as we stated, this is going to take a minimum of 2 years to work through this situation. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. And we have to have the necessary strategies in place. As a result, the AP action plan. You have to have teams in place. Compliance, tutors, advisors, the whole caboodle. And the student athlete has to take some responsibilities. But this is what we've entered into with our eyes wide open to be recognized as a Division I institution. It's part of the territory. It's a moving target. It is what it is. But we got to do what we got to do to weather this storm. And speaking of storms, rumblings are about, due to the reporting we've been making, which is simply what it is, reporting. People report all the time. What people interpret off them reports, we have no control over. But I can assure you, we're going to keep on the grind and keep doing what we know to be fair, honest, and right. I owe that to my beloved university. I owe that to my beloved alumni. Whether you agree to disagree with me or not, I can't control that. And I cannot control how you feel about me. It's part of the territory. All I can control is how I feel about you. And the truth be told, I have nothing but love and adoration for each and every one of you. And with that being said, I must exit stage left. My time is far spent on today. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, thanking you, as always, for joining in with us. And until the next time, you guys be blessed. We'll see you on the other side.